Welcome back to Life, Biz, and All That Jazz. I'm your host, Jasmine Lisciotto, and today's episode is all about stepping into the new year with intention, positivity, and a moment to look back and celebrate the journey so far. This isn't going to be your typical New Year, New Me episode. Instead, we're going to really reflect on the year that's just passed, whether it was everything that you hoped for, or it didn't go to plan, because we have to face it, some years just don't go to plan, but that means we get to reset and start off better for the next year. Together today, we are going to celebrate the wins, uncover the lessons, and hit a reset button to step into the new year with clarity and purpose. So whether you're going to be setting big goals, working on yourself, or just trying to make it through the day with grace, this episode is for you. Let me start off with a little bold statement. Well, we won't say little because it's not very little if it's bold, is it? You can't just write a list of goals and expect to achieve them. By the time March rolls around, you're probably thinking, I'm over it, I've lost interest, and you feel like you've failed. I put my hand up to this, I've done this many times, it's because I've set goals without a plan. But what if you didn't have to fail? What if you didn't have to get to March and you're over your goals and you've lost interest? What if there was a formula to help you stay on track? That's where breaking down your goals into your daily routine and creating actionable steps allows it to be seamlessly fitting into your routine. And this is what makes a difference. Let's start by having a look back at the year that we've just had. Reflection can be quite intimidating, especially if the year didn't go the way that we wanted. We can look back and it can bring up emotions. It can make us feel sad and, feel like we've just wasted a year. Even the hardest years carry moments of growth and resilience. Reflection isn't about focusing on what went wrong. It's about looking at what went wrong and seeing the bigger picture and seeing how far you've come and learning from this. Reflection also starts with asking the right questions. It doesn't have to be a big thing. Sometimes the smallest wins are the ones that really feel insignificant at the time, but these are the ones that matter most. So let's go a little bit deeper and ask yourself some questions to help you write down some reflection and break down the year and reflect on where you've come so far. So what I did with this one, and you'll be able to see on my socials, I've created a reel on Instagram that will explain this a little bit more if you want to have a look at the picture. But pretty much I got a giant post-it note. I got this from Officeworks. They are amazing. I use them all the time. You can just keep them on the pad or you can pull them off and stick them on the wall. But pretty much I did like a mind map style. I wrote reflect, celebrate lessons down on the left in circles. And then I wrote little tabs off each one. And then at the top, I had 2024 to 2025. And then on the right side, I wrote future self, goals, and routine, which we'll get into shortly. But pretty much for reflection, you want to ask yourself, what challenges did I face and how did I overcome them? What moments brought me the most joy or fulfillment? What did this year teach me about myself? Were there times when I showed up and had strength and resilience that really surprised me? And the thing is, reflection is about understanding your journey, not judging it. Every moment you've experienced, whether it's happy or sad and hard, it has shaped you. And if you're here listening, you've taken a step forward towards growth. You want to be better. Now that you've reflected, it's time to celebrate your wins. And yes, you do have wins. Whether you can't see them, we're going to break down a few questions and we're going to find these wins so you can celebrate. Your wins don't need to be grand. They don't need to be big and really exciting. They just need to be something that you're proud of. Maybe you got through a difficult time. Maybe you started prioritizing yourself more. Maybe you kept showing up even when it was hard and you didn't want to. Those are all worth celebrating. You can even celebrate making it through another year. Life is hard. No matter how exciting or how upsetting the year may have been, you made it through another year. Here are a few questions that you can use to guide you through this section to help you celebrate your wins. What is one thing I accomplished this year, no matter how small it was, just one thing that I accomplished? Who or what brought happiness and light into my life? Celebrate the relationship with them. Did I take care of myself? What am I grateful for that I didn't expect? shift. For me, starting this podcast was a huge milestone. I am jumping up and down right now, celebrating this because I've been able to connect with all of you, and it has been one of my greatest gifts this year. Also, just a deeper understanding of myself when I'm able to express myself and my feelings and the lessons that I've learned and the education through this podcast. It's so exciting and so rewarding for me. And I've always just wanted to give back and help others like yourself reduce their struggles, because what I've overcome, I want to share it so people don't have to go through this. So no matter what kind of year you've had, there is really something there for you to celebrate, whether it's a big win or just the quiet strength that you got through the year. And every year leaves us with lessons, and those lessons help us move forward with intention. To help you dissect your lessons and break them down, ask yourself, what did I learn this year that I will carry on to next year? What habits or patterns do I want to leave behind? What strengths did I discover or develop? What boundaries or priorities became clearer to me? How will I use these lessons to create a better year ahead? This is always going to be a trickier one. Well, it is for me anyway. So I'm going to break down the lessons that I've learned. So for me, this year has been really about stepping into my power and trusting myself and the process. I've learned that my sober lifestyle paired with regular exercise is my superpower. I've also learned that setting and maintaining boundaries makes me stronger, not just for myself, but for the people around me. It makes me a better person. So what about you? What lessons will you be taking into the new year? You can use this time to write it down and just jot out anything that you've learned this year, and that's something that you can learn to take into the new year. And you'll be quite surprised. Once I got writing, I really looked at it, and I ended up writing about 6 things that I've reflected on, and I've celebrated about 8 things, and similar for the lessons as well. So a few other things I didn't mention before that I celebrated was that I finished my 65 to Thrive challenge, and that's something that I'm going to be bringing out to you as a program. I also had my biggest year in business. And then I stayed sober for the year. And I also just made it out alive and healthy. That's one of the biggest things I wanted to celebrate as well is, I've done so many other things, but also just made it through. And then we have the time, once we've reflected, celebrated, and looked at our lessons, we want to reset with intention. The year often feels like a pressure cooker. It's literally combined with all these moments and all these triumphs or all these lessons, whether positive or negative. They all seem to push down one after another. And we get to the end of the year and we are like, what just happened? How did we just get through the year? Sometimes we may have unrealistic resolutions, but what if we approached it differently? Instead of just setting a huge unattainable goal to focus on, what about creating more intention with our goals? It's really about understanding your future self, who you want to be, and then allowing those goals to help create that person. And then that's when we create our routine to reflect on the goals. So a few questions you can ask yourself. How do I want to feel in 2025? What do I want to create, experience, or embrace? What small steps can I take to align with my vision for the future? For me, 2025 is going to be about ease and alignment. I'm really focusing on creating more flow with my life, letting go of more things that no longer serve me and my vision for my future self and my goals. I'm really embracing what feels right and listening to my intuition and listening to my energy. It's not about forcing anything to happen. I'm really trusting the process where I am right now, following the steps and letting everything fall into place while I put the building blocks underneath. And I want you to remember that you don't need to have all the answers right now. Resetting is about giving yourself the permission to start fresh, one step at a time. You can really come back to this in a few weeks just because it's January now and everyone's starting their New Year goals. Everyone's putting up their 2024 montages of all their photos and stuff like that. It's very easy to compare, but just remember this is your journey. This is your journey to greatness. It's your journey to create. And the truth is, change doesn't happen overnight. It's really about the small, consistent actions that you take that are going to lead to that lasting transformation. It's really about committing to show up for yourself in the smallest ways possible. And some days you may not want to show up. You may not even be able to get out of bed. I get it. For this instance, if you are feeling like this, just try and start a gratitude journal. You can do this from bed, reflect on some of the happier moments and things that you want to be excited for in the future. Morning routines are the biggest kryptonite to your lifestyle, especially for my neurospices. This is going to change your life. I will put my hand up really, really high right now. This is what I'm doing. I'm literally putting my hand up high like I'm in class, wanting to be the one that the teacher picks, because morning routines have changed my life. They set the tone for my day, for the evening. I have a morning and evening routine, but if you haven't listened to my episode on routines, go back and listen to that one. Breaking your big goals into smaller goals is another big impact that's really going to be allowing you to look at the smaller steps and not feel so overwhelmed and just in that paralysis mode of thinking, how can I do this? I can't do this. This is impossible. There's too many things to do to get to this goal. But when you break it down into daily steps, it becomes a lot easier. And you know how much I love to say that it isn't about perfection, it's about progress. And it's about showing up, even when it's messy, in the littlest form possible, whatever you can do, and trusting that each day will bring you a step closer to the life that you've really wanted to create. Today's episode, as you would have noticed, isn't backed by any science-backed data. It's really about simple, practical steps we've all probably heard before, but when they're broken down and simplified, it becomes a little bit easier to understand and implement. And that's what I'm all about, bringing you actionable advice to help you live a happier and more fulfilling life, no matter what's going on in your beautiful mind. Thank you for spending the time with me as we reflect, reset, and step into the new year together. And remember, the journey isn't about perfection, it's about progress. If you've enjoyed today's episode, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review or share this episode with someone that might need to hear it. And don't forget to follow so you never miss an episode and see what we have planned for 2025. So here's to a year of growth, joy, and alignment. You've got this, and I'm here cheering you on every step of the way. Until next week, take care of yourself and keep being you.